Thank you very much for the lovely introduction, Neelam. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. So as Neelam said, my name is Lydia, and I'm joined by my colleagues Camilla, Elphick, and Ailsa Strathie today. Camilla and I are going to talk to you about developing the open research course and the accompanying decision tree, and Ailsa will be managing the chat. Thank you, Ailsa. So we will demo various elements of the course and the decision tree throughout the presentation today. However, if you'd like to try it out yourself, you can follow the QR code on the screen there. And if you have any troubles, we can pop the link into the chat for you as well. So to get stuck in now, I'm going to pass you on to Camilla, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about how the course came about and who was involved. All right, I'll pass you on to Camilla now.
Thanks, Lydia. Yeah, hi, I'm Camilla. And yeah, so I think we decided we really wanted to tell you why this course came about. And it started with an away day that Sarah Laurence organised for the School of Psychology and Counselling, and we helped her to organise. And at the event, we realised that many of our colleagues had an interest in open research, but didn't really know what it was. And I think we've had a sense that quite a few of them felt it didn't apply to qualitative methods. And there was a sort of vague assumption that nothing could be done about making a completed research project open. So that made us realise that understanding around open research was fuzzy at best. And so it was difficult for people actually to take action in their own research. And so it made us question also whether there were similar issues with researchers from other disciplines. So we had quite a lot of chats about what we were going to do about this and whether we could make some kind of resource to mitigate this problem. And we realised that what people really need is something that's really accessible, flexible, targeted and simple. People are really time poor and they don't want to be reading for hours or days on the internet trying to find out stuff when they can actually find something really easily. So we decided that we needed to create a course that helped people understand what open research is, why it's important, and how to recognise good practices in other research so they can make a decision for themselves about the quality of that research and how credible and believable it is, but done in a very, very simple way. And the other thing that we thought people really need is to be able to take practical steps to make their own research more open in a really targeted way. So we were really lucky. Rose Capdevila and Nicola Dowson helped us to get funding for this. And with them, we managed to gather a really great team across disciplines and the library to help create the resource. And we got a fantastic consultant, Priya Silverstein, and you'll hear more about her in a minute. And she led the writing of materials with me and Lydia. And the people that we got involved all gave us really fantastic feedback about how we could make the course more relevant to different disciplines and different methods. So it's basically was designed for postgraduate researchers, but actually we feel it's one of these resources that could be interesting to anybody who's interested in good practices of research. So we have the link. I think it's been shared in the chat. We also have the QR code that was shared. So if you want to play around and whilst we're talking, that's absolutely fine. But the basic idea is that it's structured and flexible, so you can dip in and out as you wish. And the interactive tool is really the way that people can actually make things open for themselves. And I just wanted to show you one slide here, just to show you how many people were involved in the production of this. And actually the list is even more extensive. But you can see that on the left here, we're all involved in psychology and counselling, but we've got people from the library, from social sciences and global studies, arts, humanities and physical sciences. So it really was a collaboration between various different disciplines. So I think now I'm going to hand you back to Lydia, who was the one who introduced us to Priya in the first place.
Thanks, Camilla. So yes, we were extremely fortunate to have Priya as our lead author. I first met Priya back in 2020 when I joined the Nowhere Lab, which is an online lab that they set up during lockdown. And then in 2023, they recorded an interview for us on open research that was situated in one of our psychology and counselling modules. And it was clear from them really that the tone and approach fit perfectly with the OU's style and values. And not only that, like Priya's well-known contributions to open research through publications like Easing into Open Science, a guide for graduate students and their advisors, as well as their experience teaching open research across disciplines and career stages, made them an ideal lead author for the course. And as you explore the course, you'll notice that the writing is quite engaging, inclusive, and easy to follow, and it features examples from a wide range of disciplines, as well as clear and relatable explanations, which is great. So Priya is currently a researcher with the Psychological Science Accelerator and serves as the president of the Society for the Improvement of Psychological Science. All right, I'm going to pass you back to Camilla now.
Thanks, Lydia. Okay, so I am going to talk a little bit. So I think what we've established so far is that we have two products. One is a course, and Lydia's going to take you through the basic elements of the course. And we have an interactive decision-making tool, which I'll talk to you about very briefly at the end. So for the course, basically it's set out to last 8 weeks, but being OU, it's very flexible. You can do the work whenever you like. It's there online for you to use whenever you want. And we estimate it takes about 3 hours of study each week. So I did a little bit of maths and worked out that's 24 hours. So if you want, you can binge study, like watching the whole series of 24 in one go, if you want to do so. Basically, what it does is it sets out from the basics. So what is open research and why is it important? It also shows you how to recognise good practices in other research, so you can judge credibility and quality of other research. And it shows you how to get involved in some really innovative open research initiatives. And also it shows you how you can apply open research to your own discipline and your own method at any stage of a research project. Being Open University, it's full of interactives and links and interviews with researchers. So we think probably the best thing is now to pass over to Priya. This is a video that's included in the course, which explains their personal experience about replication and why they became interested in the first place. So I'm going to try and press play and hope that it works. I think I'll hand back to you now, Lydia, if that's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we've just inserted the QR code there again in case anyone hasn't been able to have an exploration of the course yet. So the course itself is designed in a really simple way. So it's broken down into 3 elements. So there's transparency, which refers to the practice of being open and honest about all aspects and details of the research process. So if you imagine you've baked a cake and your friend asks you for a recipe, you wouldn't just say, make a batter, put it in the oven, and then decorate it, because that wouldn't be enough information for your friend to reproduce it. Yet this is often what happens in research, so we don't actually have enough information or transparency to understand how exactly a study was carried out, a bit what Priya was just describing there in the video. So in reality, when you're sharing a video, a recipe, for example, you probably share details about the ingredients, the settings for baking it in the oven, and any steps in between, so that your friend could actually make it themselves. And that's really just what transparency is in open research. It's about researchers openly sharing the methods, data, and results so that anyone can see exactly how something was carried out. And then integrity is a degree of trustworthiness or believability of the research findings. So it's a bit like if you had, you might be tempted to leave out a part about in your recipe about how it took 20 odd attempts before the cake actually rose. So integrity is about being honest about things like that. And accessibility is about ensuring that all who are interested in the research are able to consume, evaluate, and interact with it. And it doesn't matter whether you're a researcher, a student, or if you just have a particular interest in the topic. And it's sort of like posting the recipe online for everyone to see. And when research is accessible, it breaks down those barriers to the development of new knowledge, which as researchers is what we're all about, because the information isn't just limited to that one group. So when it's accessible, anyone can access it. So those are really the three core principles. And then after we sort of highlight and describe what they are, we go into a little bit more detail on those. So I'll just take you on to the next screen. So the first one is transparency. And you can see here there's quite a lot that we cover under the umbrella of transparency. So the course talks about making methods, data, and results open to everyone. It covers FAIR principles, so ensuring that your data is findable, accessible, interpretable, and reusable. It also covers understanding the types of licensing and repositories you'll need to navigate when sharing your data, and the ways in which you can improve your research so that others will be more likely to be able to reproduce it. There's also an explanation of how to pre-register, including links to pre-registration forms across different disciplines and different types of analysis and design and research design. And it really takes you through like pre-registration questions step by step, which can be really useful because I think doing your first pre-registration form can be a little bit daunting. It highlights the importance of distinguishing between confirmatory and exploratory analysis as well. I mean, I think there's a tendency to think that, you know, it should always be confirmatory analysis and you can only pre-register confirmatory analysis, but you can practice open research and pre-register exploratory analysis too, and we really cover that in the course. And as well, we also talk about reporting guidelines, so that sort of set of rules and standards that help researchers present their findings clearly and transparently as well. And within the course, there are different examples because that sort of checklist of how to report your findings can differ across disciplines, and we've really tried to, you know, highlight that and draw attention to some of the different ways that those checklists can be presented across different areas of research. So then the next one we go into in more detail is integrity. And again, these are some of the topics that we cover within the integrity weeks. So in case anyone isn't aware, just in terms of replication, so if a study is replicable, you'll be able to conduct the same study again, generate new data, and still get the same results as the original study. So we cover that, and also the replication crisis as well, so where studies can't be replicated. And it goes into, you know, various questionable research practices as well, what they are and how to avoid them, like p-hacking, which is like exploiting analysis techniques to increase the likelihood of obtaining statistically significant results, as well as selective reporting. So when results from research are deliberately, you know, not fully or accurately reported, a bit like just selecting the successful recipe finding of the good cake that worked out and not talking about the other attempts that weren't successful or weren't deemed successful in the researcher's eyes. It also covers generalizability. It's about whether the same findings occur in other contexts, and disclosures of conflicts of interest, positionality and associated biases that we can have, interpreting findings appropriately, and identifying and, you know, staying away from flimsy interpretations, and as well as robustness as well. So like the strength and reliability of results and how to interpret that, and also ensure that you have robustness in your own analysis and results. And then multiverse analysis, which is where researchers try to perform all possible analysis on the data in order to explore, you know, which analyses actually show the effects they're interested in and which don't. So there's quite a lot that is addressed there, and it's done a really accessible and easy to understand way with really cool examples. such as recipes and the likes, to make it easy to understand and also applicable across different disciplines. And then the final principle that we cover is accessibility. As you can imagine, that covers things like open access and journal publishing models. We had fantastic input from the library on this. And there's a video as well, which is great. As well as preprints, how to do them, what they are, academic privilege. And this is an interesting one because there are, of course, systematic inequalities in academia and research. And, not everyone has equal access to opportunities. And it might be because of gender or race or disability. But we all have different privileges. And there's a really fantastic academic wheel of privilege that's included in the course that really depicts this well. Essentially, we should be striving for diversity at all stages in the research process, and we really get to the nub of this in the course in week 6. So if you want to learn a bit more about that, that's in week 6. We also cover big team science in that too, which involves a sort of large-scale projects where people from across the world conduct the same study and then they pull the results together. And it's a really good way of addressing generalizability, but it has its limitations too, and you can read more about this on the course. So yeah, those are the 3 main principles and sort of a whistle-stop tour of the different topics that are covered within it. So I'm going to pass you back to Camilla now. Thanks.
Thanks, Lydia. Yeah, so this is really the final slide, but you might want to be thinking about questions to ask us for afterwards, or we can have a go together about your own research and see how the tool might be able to help you with your own research. But for now, what I just wanted to say a little bit about the decision tree itself. So the course that Lydia's described so well with her cake baking allegory is about really understanding the principles that involved and the practices and what can be done. But what this tool does is it allows anyone who uses it to take action themselves for their own research. So at whatever stage their research project is at, they can take some steps if they choose to do so to make it more open than it otherwise might be. And so that's really what this tool is for. It's for people who've done the course already, or anyone who's interested in doing the course. You'll see that in the course there's some activities involving this tool, so you can actually learn how to use it, although it is actually very easy, so you probably don't really need that. But anyway, it's part of the course. This tool also will help people who've done the course just to have a little refresher if they've forgotten something, in which case they might want to click on the principles button, which will just remind them about accessibility, transparency and integrity, and take them to the part of the course that they most want to remind themselves about. But I think most people will be using this to take action. And so by clicking the take action, the actions button, they can find out what they need to do at the research point they're at. So if they finish their project, there are still things they can do, and this helps them to find out what those things might be. Now, the thing about this tool, it's also open access to anybody who hasn't done the course. So you don't need to do the course to use the tool. What it does is it will take you to the section of the course that's relevant to you, and you can still access quite a lot of the material. And I think, again, probably the best way to demonstrate it is to show you. So this, I think a few of you had difficulties with some of the sound in the previous video. We will put the transcript of that video in the chat in a minute. And I think you've been told that you will get access to the slides and the transcript afterwards. Just so that you know, this video is silent, so don't be worrying about your sound button for this. It's just a screen recording. So anyway, I'm just going to press play. And you can see somebody's clicked the actions button, and you can see their mouse as they're trying to work out what they want to select. And if you look at the links, you can see they're taking the person to the correct place in the course to tell them what they want to do. So you can see here, when they've finished their project, there are still things that can be done. think that's the end. Now, if anybody wants to, you can either try using this QR code, or we might pop the link to this page in the chat again, and you can have a go at trying out the decision tree if you want. And if you've got any questions about that, or about anything else that we've talked about, please, oh, thank you, Ailsa's popped it in the chat. Yeah, please ask us questions, because we're now done. Thank you very much.